My own brother robbed my house. At that time I had no idea he was the one responsible. More than $3 million in cash, gold, jewelry, and family valuables were stolen from my home. I immediately filed police reports. My husband was in another country, on an important business trip, and had no idea what had happened. I was terrified, and kept wondering what I would do if he found out. Until that day, I believed my family was the safest part of my life. Looking back now, I realize how wrong I was. The morning had started like any other Tuesday. My husband, Michael, had been in London for almost a week, negotiating what he kept calling the biggest business deal of his career. Before he left, he kissed me goodbye at the airport and smiled. "I'll be home Friday," he said. "I'll have your favorite dinner waiting," I teased. He laughed. "I'll hold you to that." Those were the last normal words we shared before everything changed. Around noon, I finished grocery shopping and stopped for coffee before heading home. As I pulled into our driveway in a quiet suburb outside Chicago, something immediately felt strange. The front gate was slightly open. I frowned. I always closed it. At first, I convinced myself I had simply forgotten. I grabbed my bags, unlocked the front door, and stepped inside. "Michael?" I called automatically before remembering he was thousands of miles away. The house was silent. Too silent. Normally our golden retriever Bailey would come running toward me. Instead, he slowly walked into the hallway with his tail tucked between his legs. That wasn't like him. I bent down and petted his head. "What's wrong, buddy?" He whimpered. A chill ran through my body. I looked around the living room. Everything seemed normal. The television was still mounted on the wall. The expensive artwork was untouched. Nothing looked out of place. For a moment, I almost laughed at myself. Then I noticed the basement office door. It was open. I knew I had closed it before leaving that morning. Every muscle in my body tightened. I slowly walked downstairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the bottom, I froze. The large bookshelf against the wall had been moved several inches. Behind it was the hidden security vault. The steel door was standing wide open. My grocery bag slipped from my hands. Oranges rolled across the floor. I didn't even notice. I stared into the empty vault. Shelf after shelf. Empty. Every velvet jewelry case was gone. The lock boxes had disappeared. The stacks of cash were gone. The gold bars. Rare coins. Family heirlooms. My grandmother's diamond necklace. Michael's grandfather's military medals. Our emergency savings. Everything. Gone. I couldn't breathe. I remember grabbing the edge of the wall because my knees suddenly felt weak. My heart pounded so hard I thought I was having a heart attack. "No." The word barely came out. "No, no." I stepped inside the vault, as if somehow everything would magically reappear. It didn't. I immediately grabbed my phone with shaking hands and called 911. "My house has been robbed." The dispatcher spoke calmly. "Ma'am, are you safe?" I think so." "Is anyone else inside the home?" "I don't know." "Please leave the house immediately, and wait outside until officers arrive." I did exactly what she told me. The next 15 minutes felt like hours. Every passing car made me jump. Every neighbor who looked in my direction made me feel sick. Soon, several police cars arrived. Officers searched every room. Crime scene investigators dusted for fingerprints. Photographs were taken. Measurements were recorded. Questions never seemed to end. A detective introduced herself as Detective Karen Mitchell. "I'm very sorry this happened," she said gently. "I know this is overwhelming." She asked me to explain everything from the beginning. I told her about the hidden vault. She raised an eyebrow. "A hidden vault?" "Yes." "Who knew it existed?" "My husband." "Myself." "Our attorney." I paused. "And my younger brother." She wrote every name carefully. "Anyone else?" "I don't think so." She looked around the basement. "There doesn't appear to be any forced entry." "What does that mean?" "It means whoever entered either had access." She hesitated. or knew exactly what they were looking for. My stomach sank. She continued. They ignored every visible valuable in the house. She pointed upstairs. The televisions. The computers. The artwork. The designer handbags. They weren't interested. They went directly to the vault. Her words echoed inside my head. Someone knew. Someone had known exactly where to go. I suddenly felt cold. The detective noticed. Would you like some water? I nodded. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the bottle. She waited until I took a sip. Mrs. Carter. I know this is difficult. But in cases like this, we always begin with people who had knowledge of the property. I immediately answered. My family would never do this. She gave me a small, understanding smile. I hope you're right. After the officers left, the house felt unbearably empty. I walked through every room, trying to understand what had happened. Nothing made sense. The alarm system had never gone off. There were no broken windows, no damaged locks, no signs of violence. It was as if someone had calmly walked inside, taken exactly what they wanted, and quietly disappeared. Then reality hit me. Michael. He still didn't know. I picked up my phone at least 10 times. Every time I opened his contact, I closed it again. He had spent nearly 2 years working toward this overseas deal. If I called him now, would he abandon everything? Would he blame himself? Would he blame me? The thought made my chest tighten. I decided to wait until the police had more answers. At least then I could tell him something besides, everything is gone. Around 7 that evening, my younger brother Ryan called. Hey sis. His voice sounded completely normal. I couldn't hold back my tears. Emily? What's wrong? Our house was robbed. There was silence. What? They took everything. What do you mean, everything? The vault. It was emptied. Oh my God! I'll be there. Less than 30 minutes later, Ryan pulled into the driveway carrying takeout containers. The moment I opened the door, he hugged me tightly. I am so sorry. I cried into his shoulder. I don't know what we're going to do. We'll figure it out. He stayed with me for hours. He helped clean up the basement. He made sure I actually ate something. He kept telling me the police would find whoever did it. They're professionals, he said. They'll catch them. I hope so. He looked around the house. I hate seeing you like this. So does Michael. You told him? I shook my head. Not yet. Ryan looked surprised. You have to. I know. So. I couldn't finish the sentence. He nodded. I understand. Before leaving, he hugged me again. If you need anything, call me. I will. After he left, I finally called Michael. He answered immediately. Hey, sweetheart. Hearing his voice almost made me lose control again. Emily? Are you okay? I closed my eyes. No. His tone instantly changed. What happened? I whispered the words I had been dreading all day. We were robbed. There was complete silence. Then he quietly asked, How bad? I started crying. They took everything. He didn't speak for several seconds. Finally he said, I'm booking the first flight home. No. You can't. Your meetings? I don't care about meetings. I care about you. I could hear him breathing heavily. We'll get through this. I promise. Those words gave me comfort. But they also filled me with guilt. I felt like I had failed him. After we hung up, I barely slept. The next afternoon, Detective Mitchell returned. She carried a thick folder. We've recovered surveillance footage from several homes near your neighborhood. Hope rushed through me. You found something? We found a vehicle. She placed a printed photograph on my kitchen table. It showed a dark SUV driving slowly down my street less than 30 minutes before I arrived home. The license plate couldn't be read. The driver's face wasn't visible, but hanging from the rearview mirror was something strangely familiar. A small wooden baseball charm. I stared at it. My heart began racing. I knew I had seen that exact charm before. I just couldn't remember where. Detective Mitchell quietly watched my expression. Then she asked, Mrs. Carter, does this decoration mean anything to you? I opened my mouth to answer, and suddenly remembered exactly who owned one just like it. My entire body went cold. My brother, I whispered. Detective Mitchell didn't react. She simply asked, You're certain? I bought that baseball charm for Ryan years ago. He hung it from his rearview mirror the day I gave it to him. She nodded slowly. It's possible another person owns something similar. I know, but... I couldn't finish the sentence. Ryan was my little brother. The same brother who had held me while I cried the night before. The same brother who had brought me dinner. The same brother who kept telling me the police would catch whoever did this. Detective Mitchell carefully slid the photograph back into the folder. We're not accusing anyone. Not yet. But we need to speak with him. I nodded automatically, though my mind refused to process what was happening. There has to be another explanation. I hope there is, she replied. Before leaving, she asked one more question. Did your brother know your husband was overseas? Yes. Did he know when you'd usually be out shopping? I closed my eyes. He did. Ryan and I talked almost every day. He knew my routines better than most people. The realization made me feel sick. That evening, I couldn't stop replaying every conversation we'd had over the past few months. Little moments that hadn't seemed important before suddenly felt different. Ryan had asked if Michael's business trip had been confirmed. He'd asked how long we'd be gone over Memorial Day. He'd joked once that our house looked like a fortress. At the time, I'd laughed. Now every memory felt like another piece of a puzzle I never wanted to solve. The following morning, Detective Mitchell called. We've obtained additional surveillance footage. What did you find? The SUV was captured by another camera about 3 miles away. Can you see the driver? No. But we can clearly see the vehicle's damage. What damage? A dent on the passenger side rear bumper. My stomach dropped. Ryan's SUV had exactly that dent. He'd backed into a mailbox the previous winter. I remembered teasing him about it. It still doesn't prove anything, I said quietly. No, the detective agreed. It doesn't. But it gives us probable cause to ask more questions. That afternoon, the detectives visited Ryan. They didn't tell me beforehand. I only learned about it when Ryan called. His voice sounded strained. Emily. The police were just here. I know. They're asking crazy questions. They showed me pictures of my truck. What did you tell them? The truth? That I had nothing to do with this. His answer came so quickly it almost sounded rehearsed. They think I robbed you. I told them they're insane. I told them I'd never steal from my own sister. I wanted to believe every word. I know you wouldn't. But as soon as I said it, I realized I wasn't as certain as I had been yesterday. The silence between us grew uncomfortable. Finally, Ryan laughed nervously. This will all get cleared up. It has to. I hope so. When we hung up, I cried harder than I had since the robbery. Not because I believed he was guilty, because for the first time, I couldn't promise myself he was innocent. 2 days later, Michael finally returned from London. The moment I saw him at the airport, I ran into his arms. Neither of us spoke for almost a minute. When we got home, I watched him walk into the basement. He stood silently in front of the empty vault. His shoulders slowly dropped. He reached toward one of the empty shelves. My father's watch was here. I know. My mother's wedding ring. I know. My grandfather's medals. His voice cracked. I know. He turned toward me. This isn't about money. I know. It's our family's history. I wrapped my arms around him. I'm so sorry. He held me tightly. This wasn't your fault. Later that evening, I finally told him about the police photograph, about Ryan. He didn't interrupt. He simply listened. When I finished, he stared out the window for a long time. I don't want to believe it. Neither do I. But if he did this, doubt. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. We have to know. The investigation accelerated over the next week. Detectives obtained search warrants, bank records, phone records, GPS data. They never shared every detail, but Detective Mitchell called often enough that I knew they were finding something. One afternoon she asked me to come to the station. When I arrived, she placed several photographs on the table. The first showed Ryan's SUV entering our neighborhood. The second showed it leaving less than 40 minutes later. The third showed the SUV stopping at a self-storage facility. Then she slid over a stack of financial records. Your brother has over $600,000 in gambling debt. I stared at the papers. No. He never told anyone. He couldn't have. He did. The room felt like it was spinning. He lost his business. He borrowed heavily. He was receiving collection notices. I remembered all the times he'd insisted everything was fine. Every smile. Every joke. Every reassuring hug. The detective spoke gently. We believe he became desperate. I buried my face in my hands. I should have seen it. There was nothing to see. He hid it well. 3 days later, the police executed a search warrant on Ryan's storage unit. I wasn't there, but Detective Mitchell called me personally afterward. We recovered most of the property. For a moment I couldn't breathe. What? The gold. The jewelry. The watches. The military medals. Most of the cash had already been moved. But we've frozen several accounts. I slowly sank into a chair. What about Ryan? There was a pause. He confessed. Those 2 words shattered something inside me. According to investigators, Ryan hadn't planned it for years. It had started with debt, then panic, then desperation. He knew Michael was overseas. He knew my schedule. He still remembered the security code from watching Michael enter it countless times. He made a copy of our spare house key months earlier during a family barbecue, when he'd offered to move cars in the driveway. Everything had been carefully planned. But one mistake changed everything. He never noticed the neighborhood security cameras. The baseball charm hanging from his mirror had helped detectives connect the vehicle to him. The evidence after that became overwhelming. When Detective Mitchell asked whether I wanted to speak with him before formal charges were finalized, I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream at him. Another part wanted to understand why. I agreed to meet him. Ryan looked exhausted when they brought him into the interview room. His eyes were red. He couldn't even look at me. I'm sorry. Those were the first words he said. I waited. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why? I thought I could replace everything before anyone noticed. I stared at him in disbelief. $3 million? I had investors. I thought I'd win it back. You gambled? He slowly nodded. I kept losing. So, you robbed your own family? He started crying. I was drowning. You could have called me. I know. You could have called Michael. I know. We would have helped you. I know. His voice broke completely. I was too ashamed. I sat there silently. I trusted you. I know. You hugged me. I know. You watched me cry. I know. Every answer sounded the same. There were no excuses left. I can't change what I did. No. You can't. We sat in silence for several minutes. Finally I stood. I forgive you. He looked up in surprise. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. He nodded through tears. I understand. And I can't pretend this never happened. I know. I walked out before either of us said another word. Over the following months, most of our family's property was returned. Some of the cash was never recovered. Michael accepted that. The money can be earned again, he told me. My parents' rings can't. Thankfully, those had been found untouched inside one of the storage lockers. Ryan accepted responsibility in court. The judge considered his guilty plea, his cooperation, and the recovery of most of the stolen property. He still faced serious consequences. Our family was never the same afterward. Some relatives blamed the gambling. Others blamed pride. I blamed silence. Because if Ryan had admitted he was drowning before making that terrible decision, none of this would have happened. Today, when people ask me what hurt the most, they usually assume it was losing millions of dollars. It wasn't. The hardest part was realizing that the person I trusted enough to give a key to my home had become the one I needed protection from. Money can be replaced. Jewelry can be recovered. Even broken doors can be repaired. But trust takes much longer to rebuild. I still love my brother. He's still my family. I truly hope he rebuilds his life honestly, after paying the price for what he did. But some choices change relationships forever. And I learned that loving someone doesn't mean ignoring the truth. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and for them, is let justice take its course, while refusing to let bitterness define the rest of your life.